I was never the kind of guy who believed in fate. Honestly, I thought life was just a series of random events that either made you lucky or crushed you flat. But that belief changed the moment I walked into room 304 for my final literature elective. She stood at the front of the room like she owned the place, and maybe she did. Ms. Carver. Tall. Dark hair tied back in a no-nonsense bun. Glasses that screamed authority, but lips that whispered trouble. She had that look, the kind that made you sit straighter without knowing why, or maybe knowing exactly why. She was older than the other teachers, sure, maybe mid-30s, but something about her presence hit different. She didn't try to seem young. She didn't have to. Every movement she made, every look, was sharpened by confidence. It made her magnetic. Dangerous. I took a seat in the back, hoping she wouldn't notice me. Naturally, she did. "You must be Nathan Hunter," she said, scanning the attendance sheet. "You're late." Her voice was calm, measured, but with an edge. "I'm sorry. Got lost," I muttered, trying not to sound like a total idiot. "Then I suggest you start getting found. Quickly." A few students snickered. I sank into my chair. And just like that, the line was drawn. She was the kind of teacher who set rules. And I was the kind of guy who never followed them. The first few weeks were mostly uneventful, at least from the outside. But on the inside, I was going crazy. Every class, every moment she stood at the front of the room in those tight skirts or fitted blouses, I felt like I was being tested in a way no textbook could prepare me for. And she knew it. She never said anything inappropriate, never crossed any lines. But the way she looked at me when she handed back papers, holding my gaze just a moment too long, told a different story. Once, I stayed after class to ask about an assignment. She was leaning over her desk, scribbling something with a red pen. When she looked up, her glasses had slid slightly down her nose. "You have potential," she said softly. "But you're undisciplined." "I don't do well with rules," I replied, without thinking. A corner of her mouth lifted. "So I've noticed." That was the first time I realized we were playing a game. And neither of us knew the rules. One night, everything shifted. It was a Thursday. I'd been assigned to bring something for a group project, but I forgot. Typical. Ms. Carver kept me after class. Her office was smaller than I expected, dimly lit, lined with bookshelves, smelling faintly of lavender and old paper. "You know," she began, "I could fail you." "Just like that?" I shrugged. "Wouldn't be the first time I disappointed someone." She narrowed her eyes, standing up slowly. "You think you're charming, don't you?" "I think you like a challenge," I shot back, bolder than I should have been. Silence. Then, she walked around the desk and stood directly in front of me. So close I could smell the subtle scent of her perfume. Her hand rested lightly on the edge of the desk behind me. "You don't know what kind of challenge I can be," she said. There was something dangerous in her voice now, something that made my stomach twist and my pulse race. And I realized, for the first time, that she wasn't just playing a role. Neither was I. She reached up, adjusted my collar just slightly, then stepped back. "Leave," she said. "Now." So I did. But I knew I'd be back. The next week, I couldn't concentrate in class. Every time Ms. Carver walked by, I felt the tension crackle between us like static electricity. She didn't touch me. Didn't speak to me more than necessary. But her eyes? They said things I couldn't unhear. And it wasn't just me imagining it. I caught her watching me more than once. Not like a teacher watches a student. Like a lion watches prey. By Friday, something inside me snapped. After everyone had left, I lingered behind. "I need help," I said, holding up a half-finished draft of our midterm essay. She didn't look up. "On the essay?" I nodded. "And other things." That got her attention. She set her pen down slowly and folded her hands. "Other things. Like figuring out why I can't stop thinking about you." A beat of silence. Then another. She leaned back in her chair, studying me. "You're bold. Is that a problem?" "It's a problem if you want to stay in this class." "I don't care about the grade," I said, stepping closer. "I care about you." That was the first time she didn't look like she was in control. She stood, her voice cool but unsteady. "Nathan. You're playing a dangerous game." I took another step. Close enough now to see the pulse in her neck. "So are you." Her breath caught just once, but enough for me to notice. "You don't know what you're asking for," she said. "Then show me." She didn't kiss me. Not then. But she didn't send me away, either. Instead, she gave me a set of instructions. A test. The rules. She handed me a slip of paper before I left her office. No texting. No showing up uninvited. If I want to see her outside class, I write her a letter. If she answers, I obey. No questions. It was insane. Out of a movie. But I was already addicted. Hooked on the way she made me feel like a boy and a man at the same time. So I wrote her a letter that night. I told her I was ready. That I wasn't scared. That I wanted her, all of her, whatever that meant. I slid it under her office door the next morning before sunrise. She didn't respond for 2 days. Sunday night. I found an envelope taped to the inside of my locker. Inside was a hotel keycard, a printed address, and one sentence. "Wear black. Knock once. Don't speak unless I tell you." The hotel. It was a boutique place downtown. Classy. Discreet. A place where things happened behind closed doors and no one asked questions. When I knocked, the door opened without a word. Ms. Carver stood inside, dressed in a satin robe the color of blood. Her hair was down, her glasses gone, and her eyes locked on mine with heat and warning. I stepped inside. The room smelled of vanilla and something darker, leather, maybe. Candles flickered near the bed. She walked toward me slowly, circling like a cat. Then, her fingers brushed the hem of my shirt, tugging it upward without a word. I obeyed. Her hands traced my chest, firm, deliberate. "Not teasing." "Strip," she said softly. I did. Then, without a word, she blindfolded me. What followed was a blur of sensation. The soft touch of silk around my wrists, tied carefully to the bedposts. The cool press of her lips on my skin. The sting of something light, a paddle, maybe. Or her palm. I couldn't see. I couldn't move. And yet, I'd never felt more alive. She whispered in my ear, instructions, praise, taunts. You like being told what to do, don't you? I nodded. Say it. I like it. Louder. I like being told what to do. She rewarded me with her mouth, slow, warm, deliberate, until I was trembling with need. But she never let me finish. Not that night. Instead, she pulled away, removed the blindfold, and met my eyes. This doesn't happen again unless you earn it. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was frustrated. Because I was obsessed. Monday morning. She walked into class like nothing had happened. She lectured on Kafka. Assigned a reading. Called on students like usual. When her eyes met mine, they held nothing. She never even said my name. It was maddening and perfect. She was teaching me a lesson, all right. Not about literature. About control. About patience. About her. For a while, I thought I could handle it. The secrecy. The rules. The way she made me wait, crave, need. But Ms. Carver wasn't like anyone I'd ever met. And she didn't just want control, she wanted obedience. Total, voluntary, maddening obedience. I started to understand that when she gave me my next assignment. The note. She slipped it inside the back of the book I borrowed from her private shelf, some obscure 1930s erotic novel we both knew wasn't really for class. Inside the cover was another envelope. Her handwriting, sharp, elegant, unmistakable. _Tuesday. 7 p.m. Same hotel. Same rules. Bring something you want to give up _ And bring curiosity. Curiosity? That word haunted me the rest of the day. I had no idea what she meant. But I was already deep in the game. And I wasn't backing out now. The second hotel night. When I knocked, she opened the door dressed in black lace. This time, she didn't blindfold me. Instead, she led me to the bed and sat down, crossing her legs slowly. She held a long, narrow wooden box in her hands like something from a jewelry store. Before we begin, she said softly, I want to introduce someone. My heart kicked in my chest. What? You said you're curious, she smiled, wicked and calm. And you've followed every rule, until now. She stood, walked to the other side of the suite, and opened the door to the bathroom. A woman stepped out. Younger than her, maybe 25, with caramel skin, dark hair in a braid, and eyes that didn't look surprised to see me. She was wearing a short silk robe, nothing underneath. This is Ava, Ms. Carver said, watching me carefully. She's under my mentorship. Ava smiled at me. Like she already knew my name. I was frozen. This isn't a test, Ms. Carver said. It's an opportunity. She approached, running a finger along my collarbone. You can leave. Or stay. But if you stay, you do everything I say. My mouth was dry. My hands were shaking. I'll stay. A slow smile spread across her face. Good boy. The session. They took control like they'd done it 100 times. And maybe they had. Ms. Carver sat back and gave instructions. Ava followed, guiding me gently and firmly through every stage. Touch here. Don't touch there. Eyes open. Hands behind your back. The two of them were opposites, Ms. Carver, precise and commanding, Ava, warm and teasing. Together, they were overwhelming. At one point, I was on my knees in front of them both, shirtless, breathless, listening to Ava whisper in my ear while Ms. Carver watched, eyes full of pride and power. And still they never let me finish. Not that night. Instead, Ms. Carver pulled me into a deep kiss, fingers digging into my hair, and whispered. This isn't about pleasure, Nathan. This is about surrender. The aftermath. I didn't know what to think afterward. Part of me wanted to run. The other part, the larger, darker part, wanted more. I'd never felt so exposed. So vulnerable. So seen. And when I saw Ava in the hallway at school 2 days later smiling like we shared a secret that could burn down the whole building, I realized I was caught in something much bigger than a forbidden affair. I was being trained. The jealousy. A few days later, things started to twist. I stayed after class again, trying to act casual. But Ms. Carver didn't let me speak. You disobeyed, she said coldly. I froze. How? You touched Ava, without permission. She told me it was okay. She's not in charge. I am. I opened my mouth to protest, to explain, but she stepped closer, eyes dangerous. You don't get to decide the rules, Nathan. You never did. And just like that, I realized the line between fantasy and reality was disappearing. I wasn't just her student anymore. I was hers. I expected her to yell. To threaten me with expulsion, or worse. Instead, Ms. Carver simply locked the classroom door and turned off the lights. The late afternoon sun streaked through the blinds, casting long shadows across the room. She didn't speak. She walked to her desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out a thin leather strap. My breath hitched. Remove your belt, she said. I hesitated. She raised an eyebrow. You want to play games, Nathan? Then learn the rules. I unbuckled my belt slowly and laid it on the desk. My pulse was pounding. She moved behind me, close enough that I could feel her breath on my neck. You don't touch what's mine without permission, she whispered. Not even if it wants to be touched. The first strike was light. More a warning than pain. The second made me flinch. Not from the sting, from the way it made me feel. Ashamed. Excited. Owned. You want freedom, she said between strikes. But freedom comes after obedience. She stopped. Her hand rested lightly on my shoulder. Do you understand me? Yes, I whispered. Her grip tightened. Say it properly. Yes, Ms. Carver. She stepped in front of me, her eyes scanning my face like she was searching for something beneath the surface. You don't know what you're becoming, she said quietly. Do you? No. She nodded slowly. Good. Then she leaned in and kissed me, not like a fantasy, but like she needed it. Desperately. The unraveling. That night, I couldn't sleep. Her kiss lingered in my mind, more intimate than any touch. It wasn't part of the performance. It wasn't dominance. It was raw. Vulnerable. It made me wonder what she was hiding behind all the control. What she needed me for. And why she was letting herself slip. Thursday. She cancelled class. No warning. No explanation. Just a note taped to the door. Lecture postponed. Do your reading. No excuses. I tried messaging her. Nothing. Ava was quiet too. Whatever was going on, I wasn't invited to it. And that drove me insane. The breakdown. On Friday, I found her sitting alone in her office. No glasses. No makeup. Just her. She looked tired. Not physically. Something deeper. I didn't knock. I just walked in and closed the door. What happened? She looked up at me, surprised. Then looked away. I crossed a line, she said. With me. With myself. I stepped closer, unsure what to do. Talk to me. She shook her head, eyes glassy. You think this is just some sexy game? Power. Rules. Blindfolds and secrets. It's more than that, I said quietly. Her voice cracked. It wasn't supposed to be. Silence. Then she stood, walked to me, and placed her hands on my chest. I built my life around control, Nathan. I had to. When I lost it before, I lost everything. I touched her wrist gently. You haven't lost anything. You're not the first student who wanted me, she said. That stung. But I stayed quiet. You are the first I wanted back. The confession. She led me to the couch in her office and sat beside me. I was 23 when I started here, she said. Naive. Lonely. I made mistakes. One of them nearly cost me my job. Another student. She nodded. He told everyone. Made it sound like I seduced him. Turned it into a conquest. Did you? I cared about him. I thought he cared too. She looked away. I was wrong. I didn't say anything. Just slid closer and wrapped an arm around her shoulders. She didn't pull away. She rested her head against me and whispered, "That's why I make rules. So I don't fall again." I kissed her forehead. Then let's break them together. It happened on a Saturday. She messaged me for the first time, no envelope, no code, no commands. Come to my place 8 p.m. No rules tonight. I stared at the screen for minutes, replaying the words over and over. No rules. Was she testing me? Or was this real? Her apartment. It wasn't what I expected. Warm. Personal. A little messy in the corners, like she hadn't planned to have anyone over but decided to anyway. Books piled on the coffee table. A record playing softly in the background, some moody jazz I didn't recognize. The smell of vanilla and wine in the air. She opened the door barefoot, in a long sweater that clung to her body like second skin. No makeup. No mask. Just her. I made pasta, she said, stepping aside to let me in. And maybe opened a bottle or two. I smiled. You trying to seduce me with carbs and peanut? She raised an eyebrow. Is it working? Dinner. We sat at the table like two normal people. She poured wine. We laughed about the worst essays she's ever graded. I told her about the time I got suspended in sophomore year for pulling the fire alarm as a dare. It was easy. Shockingly easy. But under the surface, the tension simmered. Every brush of her fingers. Every glance. She bit her lip when I made her laugh, and I couldn't look away. I wanted to memorize every expression. Because tonight, I wasn't her student. And she wasn't my teacher. We were just two people who had been holding back for too long. The bedroom. She led me there by the hand, no blindfolds, no ties, no commands. Just fingers laced with mine and a quiet look that asked if I was ready. I was. I'd never been more ready for anything in my life. The lights were dim. Her bed was soft. And when I undressed her, it felt like unwrapping something sacred. She pulled me close, and for once, it wasn't about control. It was about connection. Her lips were softer than I remembered. Her breath warmer. Her hands gentler. She didn't guide me. Didn't correct me. She let me. She let me touch her like I'd wanted to for weeks, slow, deliberate, learning every inch of her skin like it was a language I was born to speak. She gasped my name when I kissed her neck. She moaned when I slid down her body, hungry to please her, and not because she told me to, but because I needed to. It was the first time I felt her fully present. Not behind the mask of Miss Carver. Not playing the part. Just a woman. Just mine. After. We lay tangled in the sheets, sweat cooling on our skin, her head on my chest. She traced small circles over my ribs, eyes half closed. I never let anyone see the side of me, she whispered. I'm glad you did. She looked up. Are you? I nodded. Because it means this is real. She studied me for a long moment. Then she leaned in and kissed me again, softer this time. Slower. Like she didn't want it to end. I held her close and whispered, no more games. No more rules, she whispered back. But in my gut, I knew it couldn't stay this way. Because rules exist for a reason. And we were about to learn what happens when you break too many of them. It didn't take long for the world outside our bubble to catch up. The day after our night together, the night without rules, things shifted. Not between us. Between everything else. We met less frequently. No more hotel rooms. No more notes. But we texted now. Constantly. Stupid little messages. You left your sweater here. It smells like you. Stop distracting me. If I fail this midterm, it's your fault. Thinking about your hands. Again. It felt dangerous. But sweet. Almost normal. We started to believe the lie we were living, that we could pull this off. That no one would notice. We were wrong. The rumor. It started as whispers. People saw the way we looked at each other. The way I lingered after class. The time she touched my shoulder a second too long. One morning, Ava approached me by the vending machines. "You're not being careful," she said. I blinked. "What?" "She's slipping." "You are too." "People are talking." I laughed it off. "They're always talking." "No, Nathan. This is different." I stared at her. "Are you the one talking?" She rolled her eyes. "If I wanted to ruin her, I would have done it months ago." A pause. "She's never let someone this close." "That makes you dangerous." I didn't know if it was jealousy or concern in her voice. Maybe both. "She's happy," I said. "Why is that dangerous?" "Because she's not thinking clearly." And for the first time, I started to wonder if that was true. The slip. It happened in class. Ms. Carver was going over a poem something by Plath, and I made a quiet joke under my breath, just for her. She smiled. Actually smiled. Not the cold, perfect, professional version. The real one. And the room noticed. Later that day, I was called into the dean's office. The confrontation. He sat behind a wide desk, fingers steepled. He didn't waste time. "Nathan, I'm going to ask you once, and I expect honesty. Is there a personal relationship between you and Ms. Carver?" I didn't flinch. "What kind of relationship?" He sighed. "You know what kind. I respect her. She's one of the best teachers here." "That's not a no." Silence. He leaned in. "We've received reports. Anonymous, for now. But if anything more comes out, if this becomes public, the fallout will be immediate. For both of you." "Is she in trouble?" "She will be. And so will you." I clenched my fists. "So what now?" "That depends," he said. "On what ends?" "The decision." I met her that night at her place. No wine. No pasta. Just silence. She knew. "Someone reported us," I said. She nodded slowly. "I'll deny it," I offered. Her eyes met mine. "That won't be enough." I moved closer. "Then we leave. Both of us. Walk away. Start over somewhere else." She almost laughed. "You don't know what you're saying." "I do." "No, Nathan. You're still in school. You have your whole life ahead of you. I wanted to include you." She looked away. Her voice cracked. "I can't lose everything again." "You won't. You don't know that." "I don't care." Her eyes welled with tears, the first I'd ever seen from her. This was never supposed to last. Maybe not. But it did. The goodbye. We sat on the couch, holding hands, saying everything without saying much at all. Eventually, she stood and handed me a letter. I already turned in my resignation. I froze. What? They would have fired me anyway. This way, I get to leave with some dignity. What about us? She smiled sadly. There's no us if I ruin your future. You are my future. She leaned in. One last kiss. Soft. Slow. Final. Then remember me as your first real lesson. 3 months later. She disappeared from campus. No forwarding address. No public goodbye. Just gone. I passed my exams. Got accepted into a writing program in another city. People eventually stopped asking questions. But I never stopped thinking about her. I kept the letter. I never opened it. Until tonight. The letter. Nathan. You once asked me what I was so afraid of. This. This right here. Falling for someone I couldn't have. Losing them anyway. Feeling everything and having to pretend I didn't. You reminded me what it's like to be alive. To want. To surrender. To love. You were never just a student to me. You were a risk I took with my whole heart. And for a while, I believed we could outrun the consequences. Maybe one day, we'll meet again when the world doesn't care who we are. Until then, keep breaking the rules. Just not your own. See. The end.